I guess the best ways to network, build reputation, and have a chance to referrals. So three positive aspects. The only downside is you work for free. Welcome back, lads. Welcome back. Today we are talking about ways to make money in the real estate industry as well as in the marketing industry, because we are in there with almost no money down or no money down at all. That's just quick replay of what we talked about in the previous episodes. And when I was rewatching our multiple streams of income as well as the AI, open AI kind of topic we talked about last episode, I had to think, okay, what can we do, or what can we give you guys to get something practical out of it? So I'm just thinking of ways to make money, and today we talk about practical tips you can actually use today to start making money on the side as a side hustle, maybe venture out into like a full-time kind of gig. But Monish, wanna start?
Yeah, sure. So we've each got three ways to make money in our own industry. My background is in real estate and a few other things, but today we're just going to focus on real estate. And Nicholas, his background is in marketing. So how do you want to do this? Shall I do one and then you do one, or shall I
Let's
do
yeah let's
three and then
yeah let's do
do that?
one by one.
So the
You do
first
one.
one is I've got here is joint venture. So essentially what happens with a joint venture is you essentially get synergy, right? So where it's 1 + 1 = 3 rather than 2. You have two people working together to make something greater than each of you could do individually. The basis of a joint venture. You and someone else will work together to basically make money in property. The first thing you need to do with that is essentially what will happen in this is you would provide the legwork to do something in property to make money, and then the other person can provide the money, which means you put no money in, but then you put the effort in. And this is
Oh, okay.
exactly how I started out in real estate. But it means that you need to know you need to educate yourself. You need to know what you're talking about. You need to be able to find real estate deals and figure out something. Number one, figure out how to make money in real estate. And then number two, get the network, speak to people, speak to them about what you do. And then they will invest in you, and you basically pitch them with the project, and you say, this is the financials, this is the project, this is what we could do with it, this is the stages of the project, this is the exit, the alternative exits if that doesn't work. You always want to do some sort of error planning, and what we're going to do if things go wrong, especially what the exit is. It's always exit. And then what happens is, they give you a bit of money, you put the time and effort in, and you make the deal work.
Got it. So you also cover the research then, I'm assuming, like the market research,
Yeah.
how well the trajectory is from the value of the property, I'm guessing.
Yeah, you do all the research. So the number one thing is how to actually make money in property, and what all of these, BTL, buy to let, SA, service accommodation, HMO, houses of multiple occupation. I'll run through these probably later on, but you need to know what all of this terminology is. You need to know what loan to value is. You need to know how properties are valued, how they are rented, why people rent properties, why they're a good investment, because you will be pitching this.
Yeah.
It's basically like a business case, but on a use by use case. So just give you an example, a basic example anyone can understand. A piece of land, and you build a house on there. So you're taking something that has no use, the land, except for maybe storage, but little use and potentially little demand for that use, and you're creating something that there is demand for. So you're building a house there. So in terms of that, you're going to have to do a lot of market research. Am I getting the land for the right price? Can I build it for the right price? Can I sell it for the right price? And there's all sorts of metrics and things you can use to calculate that. Obviously, speaking to builders, speaking with other people as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to think, okay, so at what type of house or am I going to build? What type of house am I going to build? Or are they going to be flats? What's the market like? What's the demographics of the people? Is this going to be a long-term investment or is it going to be a short-term investment? All of these things you sort of work out, and then you pitch that to the investor. And you would say to them, you would build some rapport prior to giving them a deal, and you would say, look,
Interesting. Okay.
they would ask you, this is what happens, or this is exactly how I got started. They say, what do you do? And you just say property. And then you say, what do you do? And they say, oh, I do my name's Niclas and I do marketing. And then they say, well, I'm interested. What do you mean by property? That's very vague. Well, I help people invest in property. I help people make more money in property. I help people bulletproof their retirement and savings in property. It's exactly what I do.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And people don't know a lot about this stuff. So once you educate yourself, you open your mouth and they can immediately tell you know what you're talking about. And then if you have previous scenarios, previous cases, then that's great. If you don't, then you need to have some sort of way to prove yourself. These are deals that I would have done. These are deals that I could have done. These are deals that I've worked with other people on, perhaps for free. I can approach a developer and say, I will work with you for free, teach me things. Then I can have that as my own sort of project case scenario.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think this is a great thing to say. Work for free. I know we talked about making money, but think of making money in the long run, not just short term.
Yeah.
So working for free is a great way to actually connect with relevant people in the industry you want to get into.
Exactly. The idea there is just education. Knowledge is key, but knowledge without action is, well, to know and not to act is not to know, right?
Yeah, it's basically dreaming.
So there's joint ventures, a sort of basic on joint ventures. It's essentially you providing one thing and someone else providing the other thing. In this case, the other person is providing the money, and you work together to make that project work.
Could I give you
provide
an example?
The knowledge?
Okay, just to make sure I got it right. So here's a land right across the street. It's been empty for decades. I live in the city. I know here a lot of break-ins. So my idea would be make this land a parking lot, maybe a 2-story parking garage or something like that. Charge $20 per day and have it gated. And for that being that, and it has like a ongoing, I don't know, value, has low demand because there's nothing that needs to get done except maybe some cleaning once a year and maybe one person full-time or 2 people full-time working shifts to be like a what is it called when someone is at the gate?
Just security, isn't it?
Yeah, like a security thing. I think
a security
this is
guard
like
or something.
low maintenance. $20. When we talk about 200 spots for parking opportunities, 200, I think that sounds reasonable. And it's probably 75% booked out during the week, while it's being 100% occupied during the weekends because we have lots of events in the city. So I could ask someone to actually invest into it, give me the money, or give the property the money, and we will make money from the parking garage idea. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of intricacies and sensitivity analysis and figures.
Well, obviously, I just want to see like the broad idea.
That's the overview of it, exactly. And there's but this is the thing with property is that there is just there's a lot of variables in it. There's
that is awesome.
A lot of actually, different things going on.
I like that. It kind of goes into my point. I call it the side hustle, because we talked about OpenAI, Chat GPT. Also link in the description. So if you want to check it out, it's a OpenAI. You need to sign up for this, or you have a Google account. But it allows you to just ask chat to basically answer all of your questions. Basically all the questions. You ask a question and it puts out the results you're looking for. So using this as part of going to businesses, and businesses need content. We talked about this in some other episodes as well. Businesses need content to stay relevant in the online world. And if they don't create content, their online presence goes down in value. So what you can do is use GPT. This is a tongue breaker. I'm just going to call it chat.
Tongue twister, yeah.
Use chat and just offer blog content creation. You can also start for free and just say, hey, I'm going to create content for you, maybe for 3-4 weeks. And if you like it, you pay me. If not, that's fine. I would just request a review on, I don't know, Google, or like a referral, something like that. And you can build your reputation of building content with chat, and you don't have to put in a lot of work in writing or even in research. You basically can just use chat to actually make your first $100. For what I can tell you is, on a practical scale, you make per blog post, we talk about 1,000-word blog post, you can make $150 per blog post. So if you know what you're talking about, you can charge this much. This is something I know. I have a marketing agency, and we do deal with freelancers, and that's basically what the range is. So do that. That works.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and I think that it almost ties in. Yeah, a little bit ties in with what we were saying before as well. That is, you do it a little bit for free first. You show your services, you give first, and then you know what it is like when you give to someone first, they're more inclined. They kind of feel like they owe you something in a way.
Yeah.
Getting a little bit into psychology here, but
yeah,
that's basically what happens. And when you give first, you provide value to someone first. And this is a wonderful thing. You can provide value to someone, track the inquiries coming in through your marketing, through the blog or whatever. And you say, okay, I've worked for you for free for 4 weeks, and you've got 10 new customers. Let's just assume one of those converts. How much money have you made? Okay, and then you can take commission on it. You could take a salary, all sorts of things.
Yes, and I definitely agree with you. This is, I guess, the best ways to network, build reputation, and have a chance to referrals. So 3 positive aspects. The only downside is you work for free. And I wouldn't even say this for free, because you gain experience, which ultimately down the line is priceless. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, you learn something. There you go.
What's your next one?
My next one is commercial leases, and this is a little bit more complicated. Well, can be a little bit complicated, or take a minute to get your head around. So, bit of background: I'm doing property in the UK, right? So, when you have 2 types of property, generally speaking, you've got commercial and you've got residential property. So, residential is where people are living, and commercial is like shops and garages and shopping centers, things like this. So like your Costa Coffee, your Starbucks, McDonald's own their own, but Wendy's, Denny's, whatever.
Yeah.
All of these, I'm trying to tell you shops I know that are in the US. Because when I went to the US, it was just like Denny's all the time. It was like 3 a.m. You just grab yourself like just a steak or something ridiculous.
Yeah, that's sounds about right. Yeah.
But anyway, so basically, what you can do is there's a few different things you can do in commercial, but we're just going to focus on commercial leases for now. For the purpose of this episode, because look, I could probably talk for a year straight on all the different strategies and ways you can make money in property. Is that vast, really, and that's one of the things I love about it, is how creative it can be. So what you can do is you can essentially find a empty property and make it into a commercial, or it could be a commercial property with no commercial tenant. There's two ways that the bank will value a property. The first one is bricks and mortar, which is basically the value of the building itself, right? And the second one is the value of the income, which depends on the tenant that's put in there. So you could have Dave down the road, barber, like some random person's barber shop, or you could have Starbucks, or you could have any sort of company and anything in between. You could have small companies, medium companies, independently owned companies.
Yeah.
And they could pay you more or less, depending on the location and things like that. So the bank can value it either on bricks and mortar, or they can value it on the income. So if you have an empty property, it's worth less than a property with a tenant in there. So without buying the property, you can agree with a tenant, basically a shop, a potential lease option agreement, basically. And then using that, you can get a valuation that is higher than what you need to purchase it, and then purchase it that way. This is a bit complicated and there's a bit more to it. But that's the basics of it. And there's two ways that they value it within the income section. One is how much rent are you getting? Well, it's a few ways actually, sorry. One is what type of lease is it? So the lease is the contract between the landlord, yourself, or whoever owns a property, and the tenant. So what type of leases there is. There's certain things within the lease, so that sort of branches out. So how long is the lease? What type of lease is it? You have certain leases that give you more obligations, that have the tenant do more obligations, certain that give the tenant less obligations. So the preferred lease is an FRI lease, full repair and insure lease. And that basically means that the landlord is only responsible for the roof and structural components. That means that the tenant fits out the entire property. The tenant refurbs the property. Oh, boiler's broken down, it's tenant's responsibility.
Interesting. So you can deflect all the
pretty much everything, yeah, except for roof and structural stuff. Right.
Interesting. I don't think we actually have this in the US, but it's definitely, back to your first point, educate yourself. Like, I guess this counts into it, because you need to understand laws and regulations. I know, in fact, that California is very strict on those kind of things. That's why hardly anybody does this as a small individual. But if you go out of state, somewhere else, Nebraska, Oklahoma, whatever, the regulations are less strict, so you can actually pull off something like that. I need to say, though, just a disclaimer, do your due diligence. Very important.
Yeah,
get educated.
Always. None of us are financial. Neither of us are financial advisors or anything like this.
Yeah,
I'm literally just talking to you from experience and what I've done previously, and also how I've educated myself. Yeah, entertainment purposes. So the property can be valued when the bank will look at it, and they'll essentially say, okay, we're going to look at the type of lease, we're going to look at the type of tenant. If it's an independently owned business, it's obviously more risky than having Starbucks in there.
Yeah.
But Starbucks is much less likely to default on rental payments. And then they also look at like the length of the lease and.
Can you just describe what default means? For those
so
who
default
don't know.
Basically means if you're going to default on a payment, means you're not going to pay your rent.
Okay, so you fail.
So it's more likely for the smaller independent businesses not to pay you your rent than a larger business.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
And they basically have calculations and ratios, and then they come up with a figure, and they say, okay, we're going to value it on X. So you can essentially have that property valued at more than what it's being sold for.
Yeah.
And if the maths works, you can get a loan on that property, agree something in principle with the seller, and do various clever contracts, and then you basically just buy that property with little or no money in. And if you do need the money, you can go back to point one and get a joint venture partner.
That's actually pretty cool. Basically,
on to you.
Yeah, so it's basically just understand the principle of buy low, sell high kind of thing. Get a great deal, see how low you can go with the price, and then
you add value. That's really what you're doing there.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. It's pretty Pretty neat. Pretty neat. Um, how fast can you expect to make money from it if you would start looking into commercial leases or something
In
like
just a
this?
few months, I'd think you could probably get contracts agreed within a few months.
Okay.
But the real question is, how quickly can you get educated?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is included into this. Because if someone is 9 to 5, has a full-time job, pays the bills, how long can you think can does he have to take time into consideration to get the first lease
Well, I
in?
think you could definitely get
I think
from
like 6 months is
absolutely
reasonable.
zero knowledge to having a property paying you. I would conservatively say you could do it in a year.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think
And
this is
bearing
just
in mind
important
that
to people
one,
to know, okay,
yeah,
before they jump into and say, oh yeah, I'm gonna make money within a month or so.
well,
Commercial lease
that's
is not the
the
way, but
bonus.
for the long run, it's much better, I guess.
No, it's well, this is the thing: is real estate is not a fast game; it's a long game,
Yeah.
and it's a game where you build vast amounts of wealth, but over a lot of time. Look, I've been doing this for almost a decade now, and yeah, the wealth really doesn't even come after a decade. The wealth will come, a decade, 20, 30 years. Then that's when you will have exponential growth and compounding. Because property, if you own a property, it will double in this country on average every 8 to 10 years. So 100K property 10 years ago would now be 200K, and then in 10 years' time, then it'll be 400, and then you can see how exponentially will
Yeah.
grow. And
Yeah.
then bearing in mind is your loan will still be the same if you have the right sort of mortgage term,
Yeah.
or maybe even you paid it off.
Interesting. All right, cool. Yeah, let's hop to the next one. And it's not the same price scale, I guess, but it's more into product photography. You need to have a creative kind of eye for this. So if you're not creative, or if you're not really into the creativity work, I don't think this is for you. But if you see yourself actually doing creative work, this is a great way to actually make also $100 per gig. It's product photography, and you actually can go to restaurants as well. So if you like your favorite place to eat out, you ask them, hey, can I make some photos of your food? You can use your phone, or it's actually just phone. I talked to some content creators. All they do is taking photos with their iPhones. I don't know about the other technical things of Android phones. I just know they use iPhones because I talk to them. But if you have a good enough camera inside your smartphone, you can offer product photography. That goes for e-commerce businesses as well. That goes for restaurants. That even goes for service-based businesses, for your own car, for example. If in my example, I marketing for automotive industry. Um, they clean the car. You have a before and after picture, and like very very detailed with the camera. You can sell those to the business. As silly as it
Mm.
sounds, you can make $100 per 10 photos you can deliver. Very reasonable. I've seen it firsthand. I've done it, and this is a way that you can actually make some money from it if you are creative. Very simple, very easy, and you can actually approach most businesses with this. So yeah, that's on my end. See, very very crisp.
I want to add something onto that, which I just thought of actually, is product photography. Is you could use that in real estate,
Yes,
and
that's a nice combo. My friend, who is a professional photographer, she owns a drone, and she actually goes
yeah,
to realtors and just says, "Hey, do you want aerial shots with the drone?" And then she also has like a bonus kind of package where she goes from the outside inside the house and makes a turnaround in the living room, like super nice freaking shots.
mm.
Um, and she charges $300 for this. So it's, yes, a drone is a little bit more expensive to invest, but if you have it, do it. It's worth it, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, you basically, if you want to sell a property or rent a property a bit quicker, people don't have great imaginations, so you
Yeah.
can stage a property. And in fact, this is actually kind of going back to AI, is there's software out there that will stage it, that will put pretend furniture in there using AR, not even AI. It's
rendering.
AI, but it's augmented reality, right? So on top of the room, they will stage it with furniture.
Yeah.
And then you could come with some props. So I paid the photographer to come, someone I knew, in fact, to come and take photos of a one bed flat. It cost me 60 quid. She came with a loaf of bread, a wine and grapes, and staged it in the kitchen, took photos, all the property. Probably took her an hour, and yeah, 60 quid. And you can do that on a smartphone. Although she had a professional camera,
Yeah.
and she done that. But you can just do that. Here's my services. Here's pictures with a normal Here's normal pictures. You can sort of.
Yeah.
And here's my pictures. And you will rent them quicker if they're staged. You will sell them quicker if they're staged, because people have a tough time imagining things.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to my last one.
Yes.
Is rent to something. So you either do rent to service accommodation or HMO. So rent to SA or rent to HMO. So essentially what you're doing here is you're taking a tired landlord's property, offering them a guaranteed rent, and then subletting it. So SA is service accommodation, Airbnb. This could either be out to tourists and holiday lets and things like that, or it could be contractors. Now, I've actually not done the SA myself. However, I have properties which I get guaranteed rent on, where someone else goes and makes it serviced accommodation for contractors. And you can throw in things like, oh, the property will be kept clean and all of this sort of stuff. The property, you won't have any maintenance. When I had one guy previously, up to I think 150 quid a month he would spend on little bits and pieces, he would just pay for it. The property is kept, nice and staged, and all the furniture they provide, things like that. And this can basically give the you're solving a problem. Again, you're solving a problem. The landlord is tired, can't be bothered to deal with tenants, but you can still have the income, and then maybe even buy some furniture or little bits and pieces, which you can in fact rent. You can rent furniture, you don't have to buy it.
Yeah.
Second one is rent. So you rent to SA, rent to service accommodation, then you got rent to HMO. This is slightly more complex. You're actually investing a lot more. You could be investing a lot more money, or you can buy a property that's already been converted, but you convert it to a HMO, house of multiple occupation, like a student house. One house, multiple people living. Each room has its own lock on it and stuff. Some of them they have en suites, i.e. a bathroom within, that's dedicated to that room. So you come in the room, you lock the door behind you, and then you've got your own bathroom, a shared kitchen, shared lounge, shared garden.
Interesting.
And it's just, and this can be very lucrative. You could pay the landlord £1,000, and you could have 4 rooms in there at £500 each. You would have £2,000 coming in, £1,000 to the landlord, maybe £500 on bills, and you've got 500 quid a month.
That's smart.
This can be low risk, because if it doesn't work out, you can have clauses in your contract to say, okay, we'll hand the property back. But you probably will need a little bit of capital, probably up to £5,000. I would say.
It goes back to be educated.
Yeah, it's all of this
Find
is
out
education.
Those small little tweaks, so you're taking out your own responsibility out of it.
Yeah. And a lot of the devil's in the detail, right, in the contract, and you really need to get educated. You really need to it's in anything you do. I mean, you need to learn what you're doing before you just go out and start doing whatnot crap. Anyway, on to you.
Yeah, I think that's that. I think we go to the next one, and then you have a bonus, I think. So let's do this too. But I'm gonna bring mine. This is again very short, very quick and easy. Also self experience. So I know it works. Proof of concept is there. You just need to do it. It's just bringing leads to businesses, and that sounds silly, but people will pay you that they can sell their services. And this goes more into service-based businesses versus product-based businesses. However, if we go into a higher price range, cars, yachts, boats, RVs, mattresses, contractors, developers, real estate, they all want more work. And if you can bring them a lead or two leads and they sell them, you can charge either commission based, or you say, hey, every single lead I bring you, I want $100. And you might say now, okay, who's paying for just a potential client? Let me tell you now, if we talk about real estate, $100 is nothing. $100 for something that could lead to a 5-figure return per month, trust me, $100 is nothing to them. So you definitely can make $100 with it per lead. If you just getting started and you don't have the confidence into it, $100 is nothing. Same goes for cars, RVs. You see those prices. You see that people, when they buy a new car, we talk about 100K. We talk about 60K, 70K, 80K. What does $100 mean? This is a write-off. So don't get hung up on this price tag. If you go in higher priced services or products, you can charge that amount of money to get them leads. And if you go a little bit farther and say, hey, if I sell them your services and they're ready to sign whatever they're selling, you even can go and say, hey, I want 10% of commission. You don't want it? Okay, I go to your competitor. They do. So you have like leverage, and you can charge 10, 15, even 20% sometimes, defined by how well you can communicate and bring your values to the table. But basically 15 to 20% is not a bad deal for any business. And I can speak for myself. I have 2 guys now working for me. They're only getting paid per commission, and they bring me leads. And I pay them per lead $20. But they bring me a full calendar now. So I'm freaking happy and excited for more to come. And I pay them a commission as well if I close them. So there are ways that you can bring leads to businesses, and businesses will pay you, guaranteed.
Yeah, 100% they will pay you, because look at this. 100% of nothing, well, 80% of something is better than 100% of nothing. So even if you're taking a little bit of a slice out of the pie, they still get some of the pie, whereas before they wouldn't get the pie. And you know what? You can do this in real estate. It's called deal packaging. You find a deal, you package a deal, and then you sell it on to an investor. And you can sell that for a few grand. You can sell it from 2 to 5 grand really per deal. And that is you can definitely do this. Leads are so valuable. I mean, what is the difference between a hot lead and a cold lead? The cold lead, they have to convert it. They have to spend effort and time and all this crap to try and say, buy my product, take my service.
Yeah.
But with the hot lead that you can bring to them, they're already ready to buy. All they just need is a cup of tea or a coffee and someone to say, hello, Mr. or Mrs. X. This is what you're interested in. Be quite nice, show a smile.
To sign the contract.
The pen, the pen. Okay. Shall we move on to the bonus real estate? And this one requires very little money, very little input, but I would again encourage you to do your research and it's low risk as well. But what it is it's basically investing in real estate through the stock market, and you have these things called REITs, REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust, and you can just buy those on the stock market, and they'll give you a return. And I think by law they have to give, I don't remember what the percentage is, but of all of their profits, they have to pay out a certain amount of it, and it's quite high. They have to pay out quite a high amount of their profits. But what you do is you don't have to deal with tenants, you don't have to find the deal, you don't have to manage the tenants, you don't have to deal with boilers breaking, you don't have to deal with any of the maintenance, you don't have to look at the research or any of this crap. All you do is just put 100 quid, it can be 100 quid, 200 quid, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Do a dollar cost average on that over 10, 20 years, and there you go, boom, you've won, basically. So there's the bonus one that, but I want to emphasize, before we sort of finish up, I want to emphasize with real estate is that, and I think in your one, in all of these, right, making money in these sorts of things, if you're not, money makes money, right? If you're not willing to put in much money, you have to provide value. You have to either provide value or add value, and that's how you're going to make money.
Yeah.
And it's I saw it again and again when you're saying, okay, the chat GPT, you're providing value, you're providing content for them. Product photography, again, providing value, bringing leads. There's a massive amount of value in that.
Yeah.
With real estate, it's the same thing. And I want to say as well, there's a lot of other ways to make money in real estate. And of course, there's lots of ways in marketing as well. But with real estate I can look at a property and I can literally think of like 10, 15 ways to make money out of it. It's very much like a blank sheet of paper. It's very much like, the contract could be done a certain way and make a little bit more money here. I did a deal where I rejigged some contracts and I created 10% more profit, not revenue, profit, i.e. the expenses are the same. I just got 10% more money, but because the expenses are the same, the profit goes up by 10%.
Yeah,
Isn't that crazy? Just by doing a little bit of words and this and that, and having myself educate. It all starts with education and willingness to learn and do the work.
Yeah.
If you're willing to do that,
yeah,
you can do anything, right?
I also say, I gotta say, I need to say this. If you commit to one of those things we just listed today, commit to it, give it at least 1 or 2 months. Don't get discouraged because it doesn't work the way how we just explain it. You go with experience and you see pitfalls you will fall into. There are lots of pitfalls where I could scare you away and say there are people okay, yes, you have an agreement and yes, the business agrees of 10% commission, and then they end up not paying you. Then you start, okay, making a contract and then you let them sign this. At the beginning, you don't need it because you cannot even promise the leads, for example. You cannot promise this, but once you understand their market, and you bring them, then you know the guaranteed value you add to it. So put in effort, be committed to it for at least 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 months. Do it and get a return from it so you see how the principle works. Then you can decide, is it something that you want to deal with in the long run, or do you want to venture out? Maybe you see a different opportunity that works better, has a better return with less effort, because that suits your situation better. So do this, be committed and do stuff, I mean, you've been in real estate for over a decade. You wouldn't
Not quite, almost a decade.
Almost a decade, but if you would have quit a year in, you would have not come that far where you are right now. So
No.
that's the key. Just stay consistent and just every day do something about it or with it.
Yeah, as consistent action compounds, and I would even say 4 months is too little. Real estate, I think, geez, when did I get my first deal? 4 years ago now, which was 3 years. So it took me it took me about 3-4 years to get my first deal, and I screwed it up, but I still paid the joint venture partner back with interest. Still have that property today, still making me money.
Yeah.
still working on it, still learning, and still improving. Look, we're in this for the long game. Short cash is not sustainable, really,
Yeah.
especially in real estate, man. Like, it's not. You're not talking about months, not years. You're more talking about decades.
So if you want to
You know,
have
you're
like
more
a
talking about
different
looking at a long.
differentiation here on time frame, real estate is 1 year plus kind of expected, but it's more passively than actively you're actually working on it. So putting in labor and stuff. My marketing hacks and hustles, they're more practical, short money, quick and easy money, but you have to put in the work every single time. So when you do photography, editing takes time. Understand the angles, the lighting, stuff like that. It takes always time to actually do it. So I think it's more time intense for the long run and not very scalable versus real estate is scalable and has less effort down the road.